All right, we live. It's missing my stuff. Somebody was messing with it. I just realized it was down. I hope it don't fall. I think it's leaning a little bit. I can't even tell. Mom, shalom. Shayla, hey girl, hey, blessings. Betwa boo, betwa boo. Fix this. Sorry, y'all. Okay. All right, y'all. Greetings, Nikki. Salutations. Good day, good day. Let me get a pen. All right, y'all. Auntie, shalom, shalom. Peaceful greetings, Uncle Nathaniel. All right, beautiful people. Today is Thursday, February the 3rd, 2022. It is day 21 of year 4 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets and of the 4-year consecutive day count, day 1039. Today, y'all, we're going to read tablet 4 today. We should have read it yesterday, but, you know, I got to fix this. We didn't get to it yesterday. Neither did we get to my big toe. I had to tell y'all about my non-physical matter reality encounter. All right, y'all. Let's go ahead and get started. So, yep. We might finish, I think, chapter 19 of my big toe today, too. We probably. Yeah, we should. We definitely should. We'll see how long it takes us to read tablet 4. All right, y'all. So that being said, let's go ahead and do the Shema Joy. Shalom, shalom, mishpocha. All right, let's pull this up on my screen. Is it freezing? Oh, okay. All right, y'all. We might be doing some adjusting. I mean, we'll still be here at the same time and everything, but like us doing a Shema in the morning, like when we first started, we was doing the, what was we doing when we first started? I think we was doing the Lord's Prayer. Was we starting with the Lord's Prayer? We was starting with I think we will start, if I remember correctly, instead of doing the Shema, we were starting with the Lord's Prayer. Until I think the Pope had pulled some shenanigans on the Lord's Prayer. I think that's what it was. I think it was doing the Lord's Prayer. If I remember, I gotta go back and watch one of my earliest videos and see how it started. But yeah, I remember when the Pope pulled some shenanigans and stuff, and he said, we changing the Lord's Prayer. I'm like, well, how you gonna change the Lord's Prayer? That was before we were still reading. Well, I was still reading the New Testament at that time. Hold on, where is my? Okay. But yeah, we're gonna see Deuteronomy. We're going to see which passage we'll start the morning with. Because I need to be absolutely sure that we're reading the portions of Scripture, even in the Torah, that has come from Yah. It's still up in the air, y'all. I'm like, y'all, it seems like this Torah is getting more and more skimped by the day. Because I'm reading some other stuff. I was like, clearly, I know you exist. I said, but this thing that man has done down here, we're still trying to figure that out. Tiffany, Yibo, Sawu, Bona, Yaya. Audrey, shalom, shalom. Okay, y'all. So we just going to be adjusting and make sure we actually giving the words of Yah. All right. Okay. for now. This is still good information. Deuteronomy chapter 6, a call for wholehearted commitment. These are the commands, decrees, and regulations that the Lord your God commanded me to teach you. You must obey them in the land you are about to enter and occupy, and you and your children and your grandchildren must fear the Lord your God as long as you live. If you obey all his decrees and commands, you will enjoy a long life. Listen closely, Israel, and be careful to obey. Then all will go well with you, and you will have many children in the land flowing with milk and honey, just as Yahuwah, the God of your ancestors, promised you. Listen, O Israel. The Lord is our God, the Lord alone. And you must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your strength. And you must commit yourselves wholeheartedly to these commands that I am giving you today. Repeat them again and again to your children. Talk about them when you're at home and when you're on the road, when you're going to bed and when you're getting up. Tie them on your hand and wear them on your forehead as reminders. Write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. The Lord your God will soon bring you into the land he swore to give to you when he made a vow to your ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It is a land with large, prosperous cities that you did not build. The houses will be richly stocked with goods you did not produce. You will draw water from cisterns you did not dig, and you will eat from vineyards and olive trees you did not plant. When you have eaten your fill in this land, be careful not to forget the Lord who rescued you from slavery in the land of Egypt. You must fear the Lord your God and serve him. When you take an oath, you must only use his name. You must not worship any of the gods of the neighboring nations, for the Lord your God who lives among you is a jealous God. His anger will flare up against you, and he will wipe you from the face of the earth. I think Jeremiah came and made coffee. You must not test the Lord your God as you did when you complained at Massa. You must diligently obey the commands of the Lord your God, all the laws and decrees he has given you. Do what is right and good in the Lord's sight, so all will go well with you. Then you will enter and occupy the good land that the Lord swore to give to your ancestors. You will drive out all the enemies living in the land, just as the Lord said you would. In the future, your children will ask you, what is the meaning of these laws, decrees, and regulations that the Lord our God has commanded us to obey? Then you must tell them, we were Pharaoh's slaves in Egypt, but the Lord brought us out of Egypt with a strong hand. The Lord did miraculous signs and wonders before our eyes, dealing terrifying blows against Egypt and Pharaoh and all his people. He brought us out of Egypt so he could give us this land he had sworn to give to our ancestors. And the Lord our God commanded us to obey all these decrees and to fear him, so that he can continue to bless us and preserve our lives as he has done to this day. For we will be counted as righteous when we obey all the commands the Lord our God has given unto us. Kurt, shalom, shalom. Linda, shalom. Okay, y'all, so let's get over here to tablet 4. You know what, y'all? This whole little thing that happened to me the other day, it's been on my mind ever since I had it, since it happened. One thing I am absolutely clear of this day, that we are literally spirits inside of bodies. Like, I don't know how clear I can make that. Like, our bodies are literally like tombs that our spirits are in. Like, now I can understand how we never die. Like, when we passed, how was the night quiet? It was quiet, but I could tell there was a spirit or two still there. And I was like, look, y'all, don't be playing with me tonight. If you're evil, go and get up out of here, because I can feel you. I can feel them right down the side of my bed. But it's like the normal one. So I think it's I'm going to call them the angelic hosts, right? I'm like, look now, I don't want no shenanigans tonight. I didn't feel that. I didn't feel like that. It wasn't necessarily an evil presence when the atmosphere changed when I brought into the house, but I definitely could tell it was different. What? You smell good, son. What you? Why did you think you smelled weird? I thought you was giving me a hug. You doing like this, talking about some, how do I smell? Oh, okay. But the night was quiet. I was dreaming all night on and off, and I kept waking up. I don't know. I think I told myself to keep waking up every so often, because all night I was waking up on and off like, okay, everything good? Go back to sleep. Like, seriously, all night. I promise you. I maybe slept at like at hour increments. I wasn't scared, but I was concerned. And then I was like, and I ain't sleeping on my back tonight. I slept on my side. Then I woke up, I turned to my other side. Then I woke up again, I turned back to the other side. And I'm looking around, I'm like, listen, I ain't got time for it tonight, y'all. Don't be playing with me. Like, seriously. You'd have thought something was wrong with me last night. I was so serious. I was like, I ain't for the shenanigans tonight. Key, Moon 2, Kikuyu, Star 87. You do that after spiritual attacks too, Joy? Yo, look, because I know they're there. I know the world exists, right? And like I said, if I didn't know before the other night, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that we are spirits inside of bodies. Like what happened at the beginning when we sinned, or whatever we trying to figure out what really happened. When we were locked here, we were locked inside of this flesh, right? Because think about when you go to sleep. And that's now what I'm looking at. How is the spirit or the soul attached to the body? Because when you're asleep and you're dreaming, if you're dreaming, you go into a state with this is still kind of like in that, by default, it's breathing, right? But it's not animated until the spirit is conscious, or the spirit connects to this flesh somehow. That's what I'm trying to figure out. And that's what I've been praying about. I was like, clearly, because the way I was trying to get free to wake myself up, and whatever the spirit was doing, because it had its hand on my wrist, either the spirit has to like, and this is, I'm just theorizing things now based on what happened to me. I could be wrong. I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out, y'all. If y'all know, help us out. We got some doctors, some neurologists or neuroscientists, help us out. Because now I've adjusted my path to see how the spirit actually connects to the flesh and animates this. Because they clearly can operate without bodies, right? They can clearly operate without bodies, but they can't be seen in this realm. To legally be in this realm at all times, you got to have flesh, right? Now, the thing is, they're like on a higher level of what we are, because I ain't gonna say all of them can manifest. They can, but I don't think I can't say that they're allowed to. Let me say what I'm saying. Okay. So to operate in this realm 24/7, you have to have one of these bodies. But when you leave this realm, you can come in and out of this realm at will, so to speak, right? So, whatever the spirit did, when it touched me, when it had its hand on my wrist, either something in my arm or my wrist, or because I was sleeping like this, which connected, well, clearly my hand is connected to the heart anyway, because it was right over my heart. Something was covered where I couldn't animate my body, so to speak, and I think about different instances. I'm like, okay, so something on the body, and I could be off still a little bit, but anytime that happens, I could clearly feel a spirit touching me. So now I'm trying to figure out, okay, each time, where did I feel the spirit touching me at, which caused me not to be able to animate my body? So all these things I'm thinking about. So I'm figuring, okay, maybe it's like in the hand, or maybe over the heart or something, because I was sleeping like this, which covers my heart, and it just kind of held me down with its hand or whatever. I could clearly see it, right? So, but while I was trying to get free, I could feel my whole body. Like, remember I explained, I could feel my body inside of my body. It was like this flesh was like a tomb, right? And it was like I had been buried alive. And it was like I was trying to get free. I could feel my legs inside of my flesh trying to get free while I'm screaming my husband's name. But the body, it looked asleep, but I was completely awoke, So I don't know. This, until the spirit animates this, it's nothing but a tomb. And it's interesting because I read in, and I don't know if that's going to be one of the ones we read. One of the ones, the books that I have from Kemet, it actually calls this flesh a mummy. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting.
Tell me why I was just thinking about King Tut when you said your body feel like a tomb. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. So it's something, I'm going to figure this out, and I'm going to let y'all know. But ancient Egypt, the ancient Kemet books that I have, as I thought after this happened, what I had read before and what I was studying started coming back. So I was like, holy crap, maybe that's why they call the flesh a mummy, right? And they say you have to wake your mummy up at you. It's certain things you do, the way you eat, and all these things. Spiritually, your actual spirit helps to activate this. This is literally just a vehicle. Like your car. I was talking to my mama yesterday about this, just rolling this experience over my mind. I was like, our flesh is literally just like a car. Our cars sit there dead, not doing anything until we go and animate it, and it gets going. But it just sits there. Right? It's the same thing with our flesh and our spirit. It does nothing until we get in it and we animate it, right? And at night, it's not that the spirit needs rest. It's this vehicle needs rest. Like we got to put gas in the cars. We got to clean it, wash it, the maintenance on it in order to drive it around in its realm. Y'all, my mind is just... And so I'm looking at certain things spiritually that I understood, I thought I understood. Now it's kind of adjusting a little bit. I'm just like, man, I'm like... something, I don't know. It's weird. So, Yahuwah is one. Shalom. Oh, yes. Oh, great spirit. Protect us wherever we are in this world and guide us.
I wonder where animals lie in all of this.
Where animals lie in all of this?
Yep.
I don't know. I think it's a different type of intelligence. We're going to get to it. I think this has something to do with it. Jan, shalom, shalom. When we get to tablet, I think it's tablet 6 and tablet 7. It's making a little bit more sense to me on what's happened. I'm not sure if you guys read ahead. But when it starts talking about how the humans were made, and then once they realized, it might be a little bit of spoiler, but not too much. Once they realized how after they created the humans, they weren't necessarily like them, although they looked like they did. You got to think about, okay, what did they look like? If we were made in the image and the likeness, what did they look like? Clearly, they look like us, or more properly, we look like them. So, but what they found out is that the bodies, they were animated, but not necessarily animated with intelligence until they mingled their life force with the life force of the being that they had fashioned, right? So now I'm understanding exactly what was meant by that. And the life force is the actual spirit, and the life force that the angels had, or you call it the Anunnaki had, was the life force from the creator that created them. So now I'm looking, I was like, wait a minute, okay, because you'll hear the Anunnaki talking about the great creator, right? Which we refer to as Yah, right? So clearly they know that he, she, the combination, I'm still trying to figure it out, that they were created from him. And there's a life force that was put in them that they put in the humans. You see what I'm talking about when we get to it. Okay, so, but yeah, so my big toe is growing a little bit bigger based on these experiences I've been having these last couple of days. So clearly, yeah, we are not our bodies. We are trapped inside of these bodies, and we give these bodies life, like the animation to what these things do, right? So when it goes down to be replenished or to get gas to operate a little bit longer, the spirit just kind of leaves, and it goes into the dream world or wherever. And half the time you don't remember it based on...
It depends on how heavy the caliber can influence things or not.
Yeah, it depends. I think it depends on you spiritually, why you can and why you can't remember your dreams. I think that I'm still trying to understand it, because I can remember half the things most of the time. I think it has to do with a level of spirituality. That's the best words I can put it in at this point, until certain portions of this has been activated, like the physical portion has been activated, so you can bring back a lot of those experiences and remember them, So, yeah.
Do you think it's like a spiritual law, depending on, how spirit, depending on how much information you get, and it determines, okay, this information could cause critical, and we don't got time for you to run around, oh my God! So we're going to cut it down
Okay, yeah. I think, that probably has a lot to do with it.
Because there's a lot of laws, spiritual laws and stuff set in place that just rule in their own without anybody really monitoring it.
Right, yeah, okay. So what he said, do you think it could be because...
It's like Murphy's Law. That's a law that automatically happens that nobody had monitor over.
Right. Yeah, we call it Murphy's Law in our vernacular today, but maybe back in the day it was called something else. Like he said, there are laws that happen without anybody doing anything. It's going to operate regardless. He said, so do you think maybe some laws are that's there we don't necessarily understanding it because it could be too much information that we don't understand that could freak us out? And I say, yeah, I think so. I think that's a part of it. I think the more you understand naturally and spiritually, I think the more understanding you will get because you can handle it, and I say that only if I think more information and wisdom and understanding is released to you as you assimilate what you already have. So you can have a bunch of data and facts, but if you don't truly understand it, like if you haven't assimilated it and like you can like go teach it and operate in it, I think that's at the point where more information is released to you, so to speak. You may get little trickles, but I think bigger things won't be released to you unless you really understand like the previous things, because you might start screwing some stuff up or teaching it wrong or whatever, See, we're on the third day of our fast. We can't remember our dreams from last night. Keep going, Trina. Keep going. You remember before you go to sleep, though, what you can do, what I do, but until you train your body well enough, keep a notepad and a pen or pencil by your bed, or sometimes I just use my phone to go to my notes. As soon as I wake up, you gotta hurry up and write it down. Otherwise, you'll forget. Like the night before I had the encounter and heard the Julian. I didn't tell y'all about this, but the night before that, so like 3 nights in a row, as I was waking up, I heard something, and it was in regards into spiritual growth and activity and stuff. And here's what I heard. So I'm just like, okay, I'm just still trying to decipher what voice said this to me. So when I woke up, the 2 things that I heard, I clearly remember, but they were so like bold or whatever that it's like I was like, I'm gonna remember that, but I should not have counted on myself to remember it, and I should have wrote it down. Before I came to do the video, I could remember it, but by the time I was going down the stairs, I forgot number 1. And I'm like, what? Where did it just go? Like, I literally had it just, it just like disappeared from my mind. So I also think it has to do with obedience to spiritual things you get. Like, you have to go write it down. You cannot really trust your mind at this point while you're growing and developing. You cannot trust your mind to, you should be able to, but y'all get what I'm saying. Sometimes, like, things in the spiritual realm, they'll just go away, so you have to write it down. So I woke up, and I heard a voice that said, 2 things you need to know. Number 1, this is the one I forgot, such and such and such. And number 2, and this is why I was like, number 2 is like, okay, I switched back over to the church, man. I'm like, okay, well, what do you mean I don't get to choose that? Okay, so it was the number 1, 2 things you need to know. Number 1, such and such and such. And number 2, you don't get to choose your magic. And I'm like, man, what? That's what I heard. Look, don't be like, Pam, I'm telling y'all what I heard. That's what I'm like, I just got to kind of write stuff down. I got to see things through. What do you mean? What does that mean? Are you referring to like spiritual gifts? Because I don't necessarily get uptight when I hear or see the word magic, right? And sometimes it could be referring to spiritual gifts or different things like that. You see, so I didn't freak out too much, but I'm like, okay, what do you mean by I don't get to choose my magic, right? So I'm at this point, I'm thinking like, how as you begin to wake up spiritually, you realize that there are certain gifts that you have. You didn't necessarily give them to yourself, or you didn't necessarily go to school for training. It's just you discovered it about yourself. Oh, wow. I really have a knack for this. Like, it's like a spiritual gift, something that's been endowed to you. That's what I believe it was referring to. At this point, that's what I believe it was referring to, because coming into this world, there's just certain things we don't get to choose. It's just, it is a part of us or it's not. Just like we don't decide whether we come in male or female. We don't decide on the color of our eyes, the color of our skin, how many limbs we come out with, all those things. That's what I'm thinking. It's one of those type of things, So I'm still trying to work that out, y'all. I ain't there. So I be sharing stuff with y'all. If y'all know, help a sister out.
Do you think so?
Or if y'all had similar things happen, please share, right? Okay, so but going back to the original question Linda asked, was the night quiet? And Kikuyu Star 87 asked me, how am I today? I'm good. I could tell entities were there, but they weren't messing with me. I think it's just like the normal. I think it's just my normal guardian ones, you know. And every time I woke up, hey, all right, y'all. Was it one of y'all that did that to me last night? Like, for real, I don't know. Was y'all here when I was being held down? Like, where was y'all at? Like, why did y'all even allow it to happen? So now I'm also wondering why was it allowed to happen, right? Is it just, okay, girl, you need to be paying close attention on what you bring into the house or what you're reading, and they allowed it to happen so I could just stop and think about what I'm doing?
They saw the book and they were like, oh, no.
Or, yeah, you know, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out, y'all. Just, you know. So, but if you missed it, you didn't see yesterday's video, there wasn't even a reading yesterday. I was explaining what had happened to me over the last 2 nights spiritually. Okay. All right, y'all. So, yeah, we are, oh my gosh, we have 26 minutes. Oh my gosh. Okay, so let me go ahead. Oh, okay. Your coach, he said he'll be here in 10 minutes. He said it was a bad accident. He trying to get around. Okay, Father, protect, heal all those involved in that accident. I'm not sure who it was, but
people already understand that people already like you're not gonna learn everything you need to know in one single life.
Oh yeah, I believe that. However that works, I still don't really know. It's a bunch of stuff on the table that we got to look into. Okay, y'all. Tablet 4, the synopsis of the 4th tablet. The Nibiruans hail even the small gold delivery, tests of gold's use as an atmospheric shield succeed. Additional heroes and new equipment are sent to Earth. Gold extraction from the waters continues to disappoint. Ea discovers gold sources that need deep mining in the Abzu. Enlil, then and Nu come to Earth for crucial decisions. As the half-brothers quarrel, lots decide the task. Ea, renamed Enki, which stands for Earth's Master, goes to the Abzu. Enlil stays to develop permanent facilities in the Eden. As Anu prepares to leave, he is attacked by Alalu. The 7 who judge sentence Alalu to exile on Lamu. Anu's daughter Ninma, a medical officer, is sent to Earth. Stopping off at Lamu. Oh, that's what I was wondering. I couldn't get that. I was like, I wonder what's another name that we call it today. Apparently, Lamu is Mars, right? Have I read the Legends of the Jews doing stunts 101? You must have just joined us recently. Early last year, we read out. Yeah, we read
it backwards. Man, that book got thoroughly analyzed, bro. You was late, bro.
You hear my son? He said, you was late, bro. You was late, bro. He said she read the book forwards and then she read it backwards. He said she analyzed every portion of that book. Yes, we read it. I read it aloud to everybody here last year. I think the first 3 months of last year, maybe this starting December of 2020. Oh, we started I think in 2020, we started reading, and we finished in 2021. We finished early 2021, yeah, so if you check them out, yeah, we read it, every part of it. Okay, so Lamu, I guess, is the original name for what we call Mars today, right? Okay, remember, put it on the table, right? Just looking at everything, y'all. Stopping off at Lamu, or Mars, she finds Alalu dead. A rock carved to resemble Alalu's face served as his tomb. Anzu is given command of a way station on Lamu. You know what? Y'all, okay, this might sound a little crazy. I just thought about something that I saw not too long ago in regards to Mars, right? Don't think I'm crazy. I'm looking at everything. At a point, I'm like, ain't no solar system. At a point, I was like, ain't no solar system out there. I'm straight flat earther. And then it's like something. I was like, well, I don't know why. I've never really been out there. That's why I'm like, I'm gonna get my own darn satellite and put up there, and I'm gonna start looking around myself. Right? Everything is back on the table. But what?
Scientists don't tend to say this, but they honestly don't know if the world is round or anything, to be honest.
Yeah,
They've never drilled past what they haven't drilled past the crust before.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of stuff they haven't did. But
Yeah,
people,
no.
it's all like it's literally all a theory. But people believe they hear what they hear and then they run off with it like, oh my gosh, it's real. Oh, we have physical proof. Don't forget, we have some very talented animators, and it's been found. Yeah, the whole solar system and crap, but you can't go off that because there was clouds that look identical from other portions. Like no. Things I've learned about this life is everything is not the same and things don't repeat itself, especially clouds. Sorry, bro, it don't work like that.
Yeah. Yes, Professor. I completely understand that. Yeah, so that's why I was like, yeah, we got to put everything back on the table because I still in the physical flesh, I personally still don't believe they've gotten through the Van Allen radiation belt, right? As a spirit, yes, okay. Maybe you could astral project that far. It's possible, yes, you can, because your spirit, you can whatever, right? But there was a video that who was it? I mentioned him before, Billy Carson, right? So he's a neuroscientist, went to MIT, and all those things. But his team actually, that's how I found out you could actually put your own satellite up in the sky. His team put one up there, but we're still taking the word of somebody else, right? But anyway, he said they were able to see this. Listen what I'm saying. It could be a fabrication. Don't know yet. Still looking into it. But there's something that they showed. They said they did a scan of Mars that was able to zoom in, and they began to see things on the face of Mars. Some of the things that we actually have here. Like they said, they was able to see building structures. He said it looks like a bunch of sand. He said some of them are like half buried. They saw ankhs up there, like the Egyptian ankhs, the ankh it's like a cross without the top portion of the T up there, but it's a circle around it, and it represents eternal life, right? The bottom half represents the male, the top circle portion represents the female, if you didn't understand. So you will see ankhs in Egyptian and back from Egyptians and hieroglyphs or whatever, but it was a representation of eternal life and the unending circle of energy between male and female when they come together as one, right? He said they saw ankhs up there, and this is what brought this to mind. Right here it says there was a rock carved to resemble Alalu's face that served as his tomb, and up there on Lamu, they said this happened on Lamu, and so I'm going back to what they said they saw up there. They said there was this huge, it says looked like a huge stone statue, was like laying in the sand or dirt or whatever it is up there on Mars, and it was a face. They said it's a huge face that they saw carved, and they had pictures of it. They actually first spotted it in I think it was the 80s they saw it, but then they said to go back and it's called the Cross of Horus to some other people, right? Adiah, Shalom, Perry, Shalom, Shalom. And so they took another picture, maybe I think it was 2013, 2014. They went back to that same spot, took another picture, but it looked like, it didn't quite look like the same face. Like maybe they tried to redo it, or they tried to shave the face down or something. But I personally think that that's not the same picture. It looks like somebody in their what you call it? What's the software that they use? Photoshop. They try to Photoshop and they said, no, this was something else. There wasn't a face or something that's just this. I'm like, nevertheless, it's interesting, right? So, but that's what I just thought about when we still in a synopsis, right? So, but we'll see. Okay, so stopping off at Lamu or Mars, she finds Alalu dead. A rock carved to resemble Alalu's face serves as his tomb. Anzu is given command of a way station on Lamu. Okay, the fourth tablet begins. To Nibiru, words of the ascent were beamed On Nibiru there was much expecting. With confidence was Abgal the chariot guiding. Around Kingu, the moon, he made a circuit by its net power's speed to gain. 1,000 leagues, 10,000 leagues toward Lamu he journeyed. By its net power, a direction toward Nibiru to obtain. Beyond Lamu, the hammered bracelet was a whirling. Deftly did Abgal Ea's crystals make a glow, the open paths to locate. The eye of fate upon him with favor looked. Beyond the bracelet, the chariot beamed signals from Nibiru was receiving. Homeward was the direction. Ahead in the darkness, in reddish hue, glowed Nibiru, a sight to behold it was. Okay. He out there? Oh, yeah, he out there. Okay. All right, be safe. By the beam signals, the chariot was now directed. Thrice around Nibiru, it made circuits by its net force to be slowed. Nearing the planet, the breach in its atmosphere, Abgal could see. A squeezing in his heart he felt. Of the goal he was bringing was he thinking. Passing through the atmosphere's thickness aglow was the chariot, its heat overbearing. Deftly did Abgal spread the chariot's wings, its descent thereby arresting. Hey, son. Yes. Yeah, I got, after I'm done. I got some paperwork to send in. After I'm done, I'll let you get on for a few. When I'm done. Okay. Beyond lay the place of the chariots, a sight most inviting. Greatly did Abgal the chariot bring down to a place by the beams selected. He opened the hatch. A multitude of populace was there assembled. Anu toward him stepped forward, locked arms, warm greetings uttered. Heroes in the chariot rush, the gold-bearing baskets they brought out. High above their heads, they the baskets held. To the assembled, words of victory, Anu shouted. Salvation is here, to them he was saying. To the palace was Abgal accompanied. To rest and tell all he was escorted. Son, quit leaning on me. You want to sit down and listen? Don't keep leaning on me because this chair keep rocking and it's squeaking. Okay. To the palace was Abgal accompanied. To rest and tell all he was escorted. The gold, a sight most dazzling by the savants was quickly taken. To make it of the finest dust, to skyward launch, it was hauled away. A shar did the fashioning last, a shar did the testing continue. And a shar is like a space of time. So what we would call maybe like an hour, they call a shar. Not saying that's the right calculation for a shar, because it's not. They tell you in here, but I just forget which tablet where they liken it to. But I know like 9 months, because it was based on the women giving birth. They were saying that on Nibiru, time moves way slower. So, like, say if there was a child born to somebody on Nibiru and one of them came to Earth, they would grow and develop a whole lot faster here on Earth because they say time is sped up here on Earth to where it's extremely so. So if they had an adult child here, they would still be like babies on Nibiru, right? So I'm like, okay. And so also, you'll see. I ain't gonna give it away. You'll see. We'll get to it shortly. Okay. A shar did the fashioning last. A shar did the testing continue. With rockets was the dust heavenward carried. By crystal's beams was it dispersed. Where there was a breach, now there was a healing. Joy the palace filled, abundance in the land was expected. To earth and new good words was beaming. Gold gives salvation. the obtaining of gold do continue. When Nibiru near the sun came, the golden dust was by its rays disturbed. The healing in the atmosphere was dwindled. The breach to bigness returned. Okay, so if you forgot, they went to Earth. They found out that there was gold on Earth, right? And that it could be mined. And it's something that whatever was going on in Nibiru, the resources on Earth could help it. So when they said salvation is here, it's talking about the gold, and they used the gold to fix whatever it was going on in the Nibiru's atmosphere. It just literally just needed to be ground to dust and released into the atmosphere. And so where there was holes or whatever, they said now there was healing, right? Okay. So it sounded like they got up there and did to Nibiru what we're doing on Earth. And now it's like everybody needs to go to plant-based diets to ward off the global warming, leave the animals alone, stop disturbing the waters, clean the water. It sounds like what's going on here now, what's going on there, and they're trying to figure out how to fix it, right? At least that's the way I'm understanding it and explaining it at this point, based on the information I have currently as of today. Okay. When Nibiru near the sun came, the golden dust was by its rays disturbed. The healing in the atmosphere was dwindled. The breach to bigness returned. Anu, the return of Abgal to earth, then commanded. In the chariot more heroes traveled. In its bowels more that which the waters sucked in and thrust out were provided. With them Noongal to travel was commanded, a pilot helper to Abgal to become. Great joy there was when Abgal to Eridu returned. Many greetings and the locking of arms there was. The new water workings of Ea with care contemplated. There was smiling on his face. In his heart there was a squeezing. By Shar time, Noongal in the chariot was to depart ready. In its bowels the chariot only a few baskets of gold carried. The disappointment on Nibiru, Ea's heart to him was predicting. Ea with a Lalu words exchanged. That which was known they reconsidered. If Earth, the head of Tiamat, was in the celestial battle cut off, where was the neck? Where were the golden veins cut asunder? Where were the golden veins from Earth's innards protruding? In the sky chamber, Ea over mountains and valleys traveled. The lands by oceans separated he with the scanner examined. Again and again there was the same indication. Where dry land from dry land apart was torn, Earth's innards were revealed. Where the land mass the shape of a heart was given, in the lower part thereof, golden veins from Earth's innards were abundant. Abzu, the gold, the birthplace. Ea to the region the name gave. Ea then to Anu words of wisdom beamed. With gold, earth indeed is filled. From the veins, not from the waters, the gold must be gotten. From earth's bowels, not from its waters, must the gold be obtained. From a region beyond the ocean, Abzu it shall be called. Can an abundance of gold be gotten? And I'm just gonna take a wild guess here on the place here on the actual earth where this gold is found. I'm just gonna throw it out here based on what we know. It's in Africa. Where they're at, they're in Africa. And to be more specific, I'm going to say it was the Congo, right? That's what I'm going to say based on what I know. This is where they're at. They're in the Congo. Hey, stop, son. From earth's bowels, not from its waters, must the gold be obtained. From a region beyond the ocean, Abzu it shall be called. Can an abundance of gold be gotten? Dark night, Shalom. Would you stop, Isaiah? Stop.
I want to see my hand right there.
Well, I want to see your hand not there. Move it before I pluck it. Thank you. In the palace there was great astonishment. Savants and counselors to Ea's words gave consideration that gold must be obtained on the unanimity. I sound like Nemo. What is this word? Unanimity. The word is unanimity. Okay, the gold must be obtained on that anatomy. There was. I'm sorry, Y'all know what I'm talking about. On that unanimity, there was. How to obtain it from the bowels of the earth, of that there was much discussion. In the assembly, a prince spoke up. Enlil he was, the half-brother of Ea. First Alalu, then his son by marriage. Ea upon the waters placed all hope. Of salvation by waters gold, they were reassuring. Shar after shar, all of us salvation were expecting. Now different words we are hearing, a task beyond imagining to undertake. Proof of the golden veins is needed. A plan for success must be ensured. So was Enlil to the assembly saying, to his words, many in agreement listened. Let Enlil go to earth. Anu was saying, let him proof obtain, a plan put forward. His words shall be heeded. His words a command shall be. In unanimity, the assembly its consent gave. Enlil's mission it approved. With Alagar, his chief lieutenant, Enlil for earth departed. Alagar, his pilot was. With each a sky chamber were the two of them provided. To earth, the words of Anu, the king, words of decision were beamed. Enlil of the mission in command shall be. His word shall be the command. Something I wanted to mention real quick. So this was in, I want to say it was like tablet 2 or 3 when they were talking about like what is this? They call one of them the searcher, whatever this thing is that can look for the gold or whatever. But they also had something called the speaker, right? And the speaker, this is probably, it's just a little side note, something I was thinking about. The speaker allowed them, when they were away from the bureau or away from their home, to communicate almost like telepathically, so to speak. If they're here on earth or somewhere else, they can just if they have the speaker, they can just talk and they'll hear it, and he'll hear the response from whoever they were talking to. I'm like, oh shoot, the speaker is still working, because clearly, so I'm just thinking this through, y'all. So maybe we're operating using the speaker when we can hear from the spiritual realm, right? I'm just thinking about, I'm just putting everything on the table, right? Although we're not necessarily operating anything, maybe by default or something, because we're ignorant of it. We just, when we talk, they know, okay, they don't know. So we need to have this on at all times, so we can hear them or what have you. Yes, son.
Can I grab my Switch and can I watch this live on my Switch?
Yes, you can if you go to YouTube on your Switch. Go get it. Go find my channel, son.
I don't know how to type that in.
Okay, I'll show you how to do it. All right. So that I thought about that and how we communicate back and forth to the spiritual realm, right? Sometimes they may be right here. Sometimes they may not be here. They could be wherever it is they're at in the spiritual realm and just talk. But what I do know, there's not really a distance. We understand distance, us being, me being here in Virginia and talking to somebody in California, my speaker would be like the telephone or cell phone. But there is a way, you call it ESP or whatever, you can communicate with people if you're tuned into that frequency or that line where you don't need the actual physical speaker. You can just, you tap in and you talk to people, right? Like real people live. I ain't talking about talking to the dead and nothing like that. But you can literally do that. You can test that with human people who understand that and can get on that same frequency. You guys can test that. And it works. I used to do it, not necessarily knowing how I was doing it, when my children were younger. And I would just speak to Elijah like he was 10 or whatever, outside playing. And I would just speak. I'm like, Elijah, come home. But somehow within 10, 15 minutes, he was always at home, right? So inwardly, at that point, I'm just like, maybe the Holy Spirit just alerted him, okay, son, it's time to go home. But it will always work. Because I saw it working, I would always use it. It's just this is a normal thing, part of my life. All right, I need you here. Where are you at? Come home. They'll call or they'll come to the house or, So it's something to it, y'all. I don't really understand the ins and outs of it. But something happened. Something is working. All right. Enlil of the mission and command shall be. His words shall be the command. When Enlil on earth arrived, Ea with his half-brother warmly locked arms. As brother meets brother, Ea, Enlil did welcome. To Alalu, Enlil made a bowing. Alalu with weak words, him bade welcome. The heroes to Enlil words of warm welcome were shouting. Of the commander, much they were expecting. Deftly, Enlil the sky chambers to be assembled did command. In the sky chamber, he went a-soaring. Alagar, his chief lieutenant, was the pilot with him. Ea, in the sky chamber, by Abgal, piloted. To them, to the Abzu, showed the way. So remember, if you don't remember, if this is your first time here, the way this was translated, they simply wrote it down how it was translated. So the sentences seem backwards or maybe not in proper English form and fashion like we will read it. So if it's like, why those sentences sound off? I can understand it, but they sound off. They just translated and left it as is, right? They didn't try to apply the English language rules to it. They just left it like it was. Yes.
Until my birthday.
I don't know, but I need to count. You got some months. Okay. Deftly, Enlil, the sky chambers to be assembled, did command. In the sky chamber, he went a-soaring. Alagar, his chief lieutenant, was as the pilot with him. Ea in the sky chamber by Abgal piloted. To them, to the Abzu, showed the way. They surveyed the dry lands of the oceans. They took careful notice. From the upper sea to the lower sea, the lands they scanned. Of all that was above and that was below, they took account. And the Abzu, the soil they tested. Gold there was indeed, with much soil and rocks. It was commixed. Refined as in the waters, it was not. In an admixture, it was hiding. They went back to Eridu. What they had found, they contemplated. Eridu, new tasks must be given. Alone on earth, it cannot continue. Thus was Enlil saying, a great plan he described, a wide mission he was proposing. More heroes to bring over, more settlements to establish, the gold from earth's innards to obtain, the gold from the admixture to separate, by sky ships and chariots to be carried from landing places, tasks to perform. Who of the settlements in charge will be, who of the Abzu shall take command? Thus was Ea of Enlil asking, who of enlarged Eridu shall take command, who the settlements shall oversee? Thus was Alalu saying, of the sky ships and the landing place shall take command? So did Anzu inquire. Let Anu come to earth, let him decisions provide. Thus did Enlil say in answer. Now this is the account of how Anu came to earth, how lots with Ea and Enlil were drawn, how Ea, the title name Enki, was given, how Alalu for the second time with Anu wrestled. The earth in a celestial chariot did Anu journey, the route by the planets it followed. Around Lamu Noongal, the pilot, a circuit made by Anu, was it closely observed. The moon, the one whom Kingu once had been, they circled and admired. Perchance gold thereon can also be found. In his heart Anu wondered. In the waters beside the marshlands, his chariot splashed down. Ea for the arrival reed boats prepared for Anu to arrive by sailing. Above the sky chambers were hovering, a royal welcome they were offering. In the lead boat, Ea himself was afloat, the king his father, the first to be greeting. Before Anu he bowed, then Anu embraced him. My son, my firstborn, Anu to him shouted. In the square of Eridu, in rows, stood the heroes, their king to the earth royally to welcome. In front of them stood Enlil, their commander. Before Anu, the king, he bowed. Anu, him to his chest, embraced. Alalu, too, was there standing. Of what to do, he was uncertain. Anu, to him a greeting extended. Let us lock arms as comrades. To Alalu, he said. With hesitation, Alalu stepped forward. With Anu, he locked arms. A meal for Anu was prepared. By eve time to a reed hut for him by Ea built. Anu retired. The next day, the 7th, by the count begun by Ea, was a day of resting. A day of backslapping and celebrating it was, as befits a king's coming. Yes.
When are you going to be done?
Shortly, son. So when they say backslapping, I think about how when my people get together, they get so tickled or whatever, and they be going to high-five one another. I think that's what they mean by backslapping. A day of backslapping and celebrating it was, as befits a king's coming. On the day that followed, Ea and Enlil before Anu, the findings presented. What was done and what doing... Hold on. What was done and what doing needed with him they discussed. Let me see the lands by myself. Anu to them was saying. Aloft they all in the sky chamber went. Lands from sea to sea they observed. To the Abzu they flew. On its gold hiding soil they landed. Difficult will the gold's extraction be, Anu was saying. To obtain the gold it is necessary. Son, chill. No matter how deep the gold is below the surface, it must be gotten. Let Ea and Enlil tools for the purpose devise. Let them heroes for the task assign. Let them find how gold from the soil and rocks separates, how to Nibiru pure gold to deliver. Let a landing place be built. Let more heroes to the task on earth be assigned. So was Anu to the sons saying in his heart, of way stations in the heavens he was thinking. Those were the commands. Those were the command words of Anu. Ea and Enlil in agreement their heads were bowing. There were evenings and there were mornings. To Eridu they all returned. In Eridu they held a council, tasks and duties to assign. Ea, who Eridu established, was the first to speak up. Eridu have I established. Let other settlements in this region be set up. Let it in the Eden be, abode of the upright ones, by this name be known. So Eden, they spell it E-D-I-N. We talked about it before. They spell it E-D-I-N, but in Bible translation, it's spelled E-D-E-N. So that's the place where the righteous abode. The Abzu is anything outside of Eden, right? Okay. Eridu have I established. Let others settle. Well, the Abzu is outside of Eden. It's not all of outside of Eden. It's a specific place because there's other places that they're named, but the Abzu is outside of the Eden. Okay. I think I said that better. Okay. Let it, the Eden, be, abode of the upright ones, by this name be known. The commander of the Eden, let me be, let Enlil the gold extraction perform. By these words, Enlil was angered. The plan is wrongful to Anu, he said. Of the commanding and task to perform, I am the better. Of skyships, I have the knowledge. Of the earth and its secrets, my half-brother Ea is the knower. The Abzu he discovered. Let him of the Abzu be the master. Anu to the angry word, Anu to the angry words with a careful ear listened. The brothers were again half-brothers. The firstborn with the legal heir with words as weapons were contending. Ea was the firstborn son. By a concubine to Anu he was born. Enlil thereafter born by Antu, Anu's spouse, was conceived. A half-sister of Anu she was, and thereby Enlil the legal heir making, thereby the next-born son for the succession, the firstborn overcoming. A conflict of the attainment of gold would endanger Anu was fearing. One of the brothers to Nibiru must return. The succession from considering must now be removed. So was Anu to himself thinking, aloud to the two a startling suggestion he made. Who to Nibiru for the throne seat shall return? who the Eden shall command, who in the Abzu shall be the master. Let us three, I with you, by lots determine. Silent were the brothers, the audacious words by surprise them overtook. Let us draw lots. Stop, son. Quit, you're just making noise. Stop. Let us draw lots, Anu said. By the hand of fate, let there be a decision. The three, father and two sons, clasped their hands together. They cast lots. By the lots, the task they divided. Anu to Nibiru to return, its ruler on the throne to remain. To Eden, to Enlil was allotted to be lord of the command as his name indicated. More settlements to establish of the sky ships and their heroes to take charge of all the lands until they, the bar of the seas, encounter the leader to be. To Ea, the seas and the oceans as his domain were granted, lands beyond the bar of the waters by him to be governed, and the Abzu to be the master, with ingenuity the gold to procure. Enlil with the lots was agreeable, the hand of fate he with a bow accepted. Ea's eyes filled with tears of Eridu and the Eden he wished not to be parted. Let Ea forever Eridu as his home retain, to Anu Enlil was saying. Let his being the first to splash down forever be remembered. Let Ea as earth's master be known. Enki, earth's master, let his title be. His father's words to Enlil with a bow accepted. To his brother he thus said, Enki, earth's master, your title name shall henceforth be. I, Lord of the command, shall be known. To the heroes in assembly, Anu, Enki, and Enlil, the decisions announced. So when I got to this part, I'm like, okay, let me make sure I got this straight, y'all. Clearly, we know they mention you. They don't call you Yah, but clearly you are the great creator of all, even of them, the Anunnaki. So you're above. I don't quite know where it is yet, but it's definitely above us somewhere. But the Lord of the earth, let me get this right, is Enki. Let me make sure I got this right. Is people thinking they praying to you, but they really praying to Enki? You know, Lord of the command or Lord of the earth, the God of this earth or whatever. I'm still trying to get this all calculated in my mind, right? You know, so I just wanted to throw that out there. But I'm like, now when I be praying, I'm like, okay, Yah, the great God over all the spirits, not just the earth, but over everybody, even the ones that's in charge of the earth. I just want to make sure my prayer is getting to the right person here. Like, seriously, still trying to figure this out, y'all. All right. I be being silly sometimes, so don't take offense. I gotta stop doing it. I might trip somebody up, but sometimes I do be being funny, y'all. So just bear with me. If you've been here this long, you kind of understand my humor just a little bit. Okay, let me go back. Let Ea forever Eridu as his home retain. Anu to Enlil was saying, let his being the first to splash down forever be remembered. Let Ea as earth's master be known. Enki, earth's master, let his title be. His father's words, Enlil, with a bow he accepted. To his brother he thus said, Enki, earth's master, your title name shall be henceforth. I, Lord of the command, shall be known. To the heroes in assembly, Anu, Enki, and Enlil, the decisions announced. The tasks are assigned. I need a sip of water. Sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. Okay. The tasks are assigned. Succession is in the offing. Anu to them was saying, now farewell I can bid you, to Nibiru with quiet heart I can return. Forward to Anu, Alalu step. A grave matter has been forgotten, he shouted. The mastery of earth to me was allotted. That was the promise when the gold finds to Nibiru I announced. Nor have I the claim to Nibiru's throne forsaken. By Anu to share all with his sons, it is a grave abomination. Thus did Alalu, Anu, and the decisions challenge. Without words was Anu in the beginning. Then with anger he spoke up. By a second wrestling, let our dispute be decided. Let us the wrestling do here. Let us do it now. Right, Adiah. Go and lock the door for Jeremiah, Isaiah. Okay. By a second wrestling, let our dispute be decided. Let us the wrestling do here. Let us do it now. With disdain, Alalu took off his clothing. Likewise did Anu unrobe. In nakedness did the two royals begin to grapple. A mighty struggle it was. Alalu bent his knee. To the ground, Alalu fell. Anu on the chest of Alalu with his foot pressed down. Victory in the wrestling, thereby declaring, by wrestling the decision was made, I am the king, to Nibiru Alalu shall not return. So was Anu saying as he removed his foot from the fallen Alalu. Up as lightning, Alalu from the ground arose. By the legs, Anu he pulled down. This right here is a little graphic, but okay, I just had to warn you. Go see if your brethren are up. You go check and see if Saya and Josh is woke.
They're not.
But you didn't go see yet. You just assuming they're not. Just go peek in and let me know. Just tiptoe in and look.
I was up there, I fell asleep.
But you've been sitting here with me for like 20 minutes, son. Just go look and see if they woke.
Very goofy.
Okay. By wrestling, the decision was made. I am the king, to Nibiru Alalu shall not return. So was Anu saying as he removed his foot from the fallen Alalu. Up as a lightning, Alalu from the ground arose. By the legs, Anu he pulled down. His mouth was wide open. Swiftly, he the male hood of Anu bit off. The male hood of Anu did Alalu swallow. Yeah. In pain, agony, did Anu a cry to the heavens shout. To the ground, wounded he fell. They still sleep? Okay, very good. Thank you for checking. I didn't really, that's exactly, that's,
bite and spit.
No, he bit it off and swallowed it.
What are they, beasts? Or, like, bro, what? They're more savages than us. That's just inhumane. You can't even say inhumane. That's...
Yeah. Help her. Give her a coat. Right. Yeah, okay. They're back in here. Yes. Help her. Give her a couple scoops, Jeremiah. Okay. I had a joke all prepared for this part right here, but apparently I shouldn't say it because the children are in here. So I'm gonna keep that to myself. I had a joke about what just happened. Okay. In pain and agony did Anu a cry to the heavens shout. To the ground wounded he fell. Enki to the fallen Anu rushed. Enlil the laughing, Alalu captive held. Heroes Anu to his hut carried. Words of accusation against Alalu he uttered. Let justice be done, Enlil to his lieutenant shouted. With your beam weapon, let Alalu be killed. No, no, Enki fiercely shouted. Justice is within him. In his innards, poison has entered. They took Alalu to a reed hut, his hands and feet as a prisoner they bound. Now this is the account of the judging of Alalu. So now, hey, stop, Jeremiah, she's making too much noise. So now they about to bring him before the council for what he just did, right? They was like, okay, we're gonna listen. Earth was promised to me because remember he was kicked off of Nibiru for what he had did. Alalu was kicked off of Nibiru for what he had did. He said, you are banished to Earth. You go to Earth. So that kind of reminds us as Satan falling as lightning, right? We read that as he was coming here, there was a huge lightning strike to get through that asteroid belt or whatever, and it cracked it open, and he landed here on Earth, right? Sound familiar? So I'm thinking in my mind that, okay, so according to this, Alalu, we would understand to be Satan in Christendom, right? Okay. So this is what they're fighting over now. Now that Earth has been found to have the rich resources, and now they're coming to check. now Alalu, he let them know that, yeah, this was found here. So now they set up the command, okay, we're going to go ahead and extract. But now you got the brothers coming, half brothers. They said, okay, you're going to be king here over earth. You oversee these commands. You can go back to Nibiru. And we need a way station in between. Apparently Mars is the way station. Like, you know how you got pit stops, you got deliveries, but you got a pit stop where you can go or whatever. It's almost like the military, how military, when they're deploying them, they have different bases and stuff set up in between where you go here, you get prepared, and those who are coming off the battlefield, this is a pit stop where we go, we get them, you know, they get a little bit of R&R, they decompress, they're debriefed here, and then they're shipped back home. So that's the way station in between the actual location where the project is going on. Isaiah, back up. So it's the same thing happening here. But now that they done found the gold here, they're telling Alalu that, okay, you can't be here anymore. So now he's mad that you gave this place to me. This is mine. We're going to fight for it. And so they're wrestling over this. And apparently they handle everything by fighting, right? I'm like, you know what? They kind of sound familiar, right? All right, we will handle this. Put down the guns. Let's fist fight for this. And that's what they did. They call it wrestling. Yes. What do you think he's doing? You gonna whine the whole time he's over there making it? Stop. Look, he's trying to find it. Okay, so that's what happened when they wrestled. Anu actually won, right? And Alalu got pissed because he's like, ain't no way I'm leaving Earth. And so instead of just gracefully accepting the defeat, he grabbed Anu by the legs, pulled him down, and he bit his parts off, and he didn't spit it out. He just swallowed them. Like, bruh, you ain't gonna use this ever again. I'm gonna be sure of that. I'm like, oh, savage. Now, this is the account of the judging of Alalu and of the happenings thereafter on earth and on Lamu. In his reed hut, Anu was hurting. In the reed hut, to him Enki applied the healing. In his reed hut, Alalu was sitting. Spittle he spat from his mouth. I bet. In his innards, the malehood of Anu was like a burden. With Get down, Pooh. Get down. Get down. Get down, Isaiah. I'm talking to you. Hop down. Do me a favor. Pick up those 2 bags. Put them in the trash. In his innards, the malehood of Anu was like a burden. With Anu's semen were his innards impregnated. Like a female in travail, his belly grew swollen. On the 3rd day...
See, there's problems here.
Just keep scooping the ice cream. Let me keep reading. On the 3rd day, Anu's pain subsided. His pride was greatly hurting. To Nibiru I wish to return. To his 2 sons did Anu say. Beforehand, upon Alalu there must be a judgment. A sentence the crime befitting must be imposed. By the laws of Nibiru, 7 judges were required, the highest of the rank on them to preside. In the square of Eridu, the heroes were assembled to the trial of Alalu to observe. For the 7 who judged, 7 seats were provided. For Anu presiding, the tallest seat was prepared.
Stop!
Bella, chill.
Is he touching the
That's
plant?
fine. He's not hurting the plant. Leave him alone.
No, you touched it.
It's moving.
Bella, I'm going to send you upstairs. He not doing anything to the plant, all right? Okay.
It's still moving.
To his right, Enki was seated. Enlil was seated on Anu's left. On Enki's right, Anzu and Numgal were seated. Abgal and Alagar to the left of Enlil sat. Before these 7 who judged, Alalu was brought. His hands and his feet were untied. Enlil was first to speak. Bella, you got to turn it down a little bit or go into the dining room and sit at the bar.
It's not. I cannot pick this up. It can slip.
Jeremiah going to help you sit it up. Go ahead. He going to help you sit it up. Go ahead.
Shut up.
Come on, go. I'm going to send you upstairs with your dad. Let's go. No, it's too loud. Come on. You want to go upstairs? Then stop it. If you're going to sit here, then you can't watch that because it's too loud. Jeremiah, give her cup back.
Hey, Dad.
Then he called him Dad.
Oh, you gonna shut up now? Okay, then. Come on.
Give her cup back. You're going to have to pause that. Give it a cup, but pause that.
Spoiled.
Give it the cup, but pause that. It's too loud. Or go find some headphones. Leave it alone. All right. Okay, y'all. On Enki's right, Anzu and Noongar were seated. Abgar and Alagar to the left of Enlil sat. Before these 7 who judged, Alalu was brought. His hands and feet were untied. Enlil was first to speak. In fairness, a wrestling match was held. Alalu, the kingship to Anu, forfeited. What say you, Alalu? Enki him this question asked. In fairness, the wrestling match was held. The kingship I forfeited, Alalu said. Having been vanquished, Alalu, an abominable crime performed. The malehood of Anu he bit and swallowed. Thus did Enlil the accusation of the crime make. Death is the punishment, Enlil was saying. What say you, Alalu? Bella. Cut it off or I'm going to take it. It's too loud. A little bit more. What say you, Alalu? Enki, his father by marriage, asked. There was silence. Alalu, the question, did not answer. We all the crime did witness, Alagar was saying. Judgment must be in accordance. If words you wish to utter, speak before the judging. Enki to Alalu said. In the silence, Alalu slowly began to speak. On Nibiru, I was king. By right of succession, I was reigning. Anu was my cupbearer. The princess he aroused. To a wrestling match, he me challenged. For 9 counted circuits, I was king on Nibiru. To my seed, kingship was belonging. On my throne, seat Anu himself sat. To escape death to distant earth, I made a dangerous journey. Salvation for Nibiru, I, Alalu, on the alien planet discovered. Return to Nibiru, I was promised. In fairness, the throne to regain. Then to earth came Ea, the one by compromise, the next to reign. Nibiru, he was designated. Then came Enlil, the succession from Anu to himself claiming. Then Anu came. By lots, he tricked Ea, Enki, the lord of earth. He was proclaimed. Of earth, not of Nibiru, to be the master. Then to Enlil command was granted. Enki to the distant Abzu was delegated. The heart of all that was aching. My chest from shame and anger was bursting. Then Anu his foot upon my chest placed. Upon my aching heart he was treading. In the silence Anu spoke up. By royal seed and law, by fair wrestling, did I gain the throne. My malehood you bit off and swallowed. My offspring line to discontinue. Enlil spoke up. To the crime the accused admitted. Let the judgment come. Let death the punishment be. Death, said Alagar. Death, said Abgal. Death, said Nungal. Death to Alalu by itself will be coming. What he had swallowed in his innards, death will bring. Enki was saying. Let Alalu for the rest of his days on earth be in prison. Anzu was saying. Their words Anu was contemplating. Anger and pity both him engulfed. To die in exile, let this be the judgment. Anu was saying. In amazement, the judges at each other glanced. What Anu was saying, they wondered. Neither on earth nor on Nibiru shall the exiling be, Anu was saying. On the way there is the Lamu planet with waters and an atmosphere it is endowed. Enki, as Ea thereon made a pause. Of it was a way station, have I been thinking. Its net force is less than that of the earth forceful, an advantage and wisdom to be considered. In the celestial chariot, Alalu shall be taken. On my departing from earth, he with me shall make the journey. So when I get to this and they really start like getting into Mars and stuff, I start thinking about what's the guy that's leaving out of here and said been back and forth to Mars. What's the guy? Right there on the tip of my tongue. The guy going to Mars, y'all. Y'all know his name. I think he did the Tesla, the creator of Tesla. Elon Musk, him, right? So now I'm looking at, I'm still trying to think through all of this, right? Okay, so I had to start myself over. Okay, so they give us the Bible. They say the Bible is the pure, unadulterated word of God, right? It's the ultimate authority. But then, yeah, Elon Musk, thank you, Hardhead Nardo. So then they tell us we find these ancient manuscripts. They say, oh, these were just stories. These were myths, right? They tell us about them. We didn't necessarily go back and look at them until we did. And when we started going back looking at them, some of the old manuscripts, we realized that a lot of these old manuscripts, the more ancient ones like this, the Sumerian text, oh, that's a good myth, fable, Greek mythology. It's scattered all over here. But I'm like, but wait a minute, though. I'm very well versed in the Bible. I've spent many years reading and studying the Bible, upholding its authority. It's the only living book, the words of a living God. But now I've decided to branch out a little bit and do a little bit more study. I'm reading these manuscripts. I'm learning how to read hieroglyphs and stuff. I'm coming to find out that these more ancient manuscripts, of which the Bible is the youngest, like it's the newcomer on the block. It's the most recent book that was made translated. I'm seeing that there are a lot of words that are in the Bible that I also see in some of these ancient manuscripts. Some of these ancient fables, you call them, right? Okay, so here's where my question comes in to you. If these are myths, and then you tell me this is real, but then I go back just to humor you and read the myths, just to get the story and understand it, but then to my surprisement and my amazement, I see a lot of stuff almost word for word in these myths that I read in my holy Bible that is the truth, but these are myths. I'm sensing a problem here, because it looks like, and I clearly know this is more recent, this was just created, but if this is holding almost word for word a whole lot of stuff from these myths, which is true and which is false? Is this really true and you telling me it's false, and you just kind of take what you want and put it over here and create another kind of story and say this is real? I say that can't be. This can't be real and this can't be false. If this, I see that this is coming almost word for word from here. This can't be real and this is false, because if this is real, then this must be real. But there's a disconnect here. You're telling me this is not real, but this is real. But I can clearly see that this has been taken from this.
Why?
Something ain't adding up. Right, so here's my thinking. So I'm thinking about Elon Musk and how all this talk about Mars and how it's breathable air and all this stuff. And I'm like, well, could it all be a sham? Is it all a bunch of crap? And it's something else that we're not seeing. And you're covering it up with this, keeping us busy with this, when the real story we haven't really tapped into yet. So all these things is on the table. I'm looking at everything, right? So at this point, it's like, okay, it's looking like a lot of this stuff is true, based on what we know here. And it seemed like the government, although we know that they be up to shenanigans, they be leaking some truth sometime, and they fabricate it with other stories just kind of around it. But all this stuff, the talk about Mars and all this is like, all of this is like a sci-fi movie. So I'm just kind of just taking everything in, looking at the stuff Elon Musk doing and all this big talk about Mars, and come reading the translation from the ancient manuscripts where they're talking about Mars. Like all of this stuff, I'm like, this is all, I'm not going to count anything out yet. Let me just keep going through, looking at everything, right? So that's where I'm at now, just trying to stay in there, pull all these pieces of information together. All right. Just to let you know where my head is at this point. Look, okay. Neither on earth nor on Nibiru shall the exiling be, Anu was saying. On the way there is the Lamu planet with waters and atmosphere. It is endowed. Enki, as Ea thereon made a pause. Of it as a way station have I been thinking. Its net force is less than that of earth, forceful, an advantage in wisdom to be considered. In the celestial chariot, Alalu shall be taken. On my departing from earth, he with me shall make the journey. Around the planet Lamu, we shall make circuits. To Alalu, a sky chamber we shall provide. To the planet Lamu, in it he will be descended. Alone on a strange planet, an exile he shall be. His days to his last by himself to count. Thus did Anu words of judgment utter, and solemnity were the words intended. By unanimity was this judgment upon Alalu imposed. In the presence of its heroes it was announced, let Nungal be my pilot to Nibiru, therefrom chariots bearing heroes again to earth to pilot. Let Anzu join for the journey of the descent to Lamu take charge. So did Anu commandments utter. On the morrow departing was ready. All who depart by boats to the chariot were ferried. A place for landings on firm soil you must prepare. Anu to Enlil was saying, how Lamu as a way station to utilize plans you should be making. Farewells there were, both joy and sorrow. Limping did Anu on the chariot embark. With his hands tied did Alalu the chariot enter. Then to the heavens the chariot soared up, and the royal visit had ended. They around the moon made a circuit. Anu by the sight was enchanted. Toward red-hued Lamu they journeyed. Twice about it they circled. Lower toward the strange planet they came. Mountains sky high and tears in the surface they noticed. Where Il's chariot had once landed they observed. By a lakeside it was located. Slowed by Lamu net power, slowed by Lamu net power, in the chariot the sky chamber they ready. Anzu, its pilot, then unexpected words to Anu was saying, with Alalu, the firm soil of Lamu, I shall descend. With Alalu, to the firm soil of Lamu I shall descend. With the sky chamber to the chariot to return I wish not. With Alalu on the strange planet I shall stay. Until he dies I shall protect him. When he dies of his innards poison, as befits a king, him I shall bury. As for me, I shall have made my name. Anzu, they will say, against all odds to a king in exile a companion was. He saw things by others unseen. On a strange planet he faced unknown things. Anzu, they will to the end of times say, like a hero has fallen. There were tears in the eyes of Alalu. There was amazement in the heart of Anu. Your wish shall be honored to Anzu, Anu said. Hereby let a promise by me to you be made. By my raised hand to you I swear. On the next journey a chariot by Lamu shall circuit. Its sky ships to you shall descend. If alive, it shall find you. The master of Lamu you shall be proclaimed. When a way station on Lamu shall be established, its commander you shall be. Anzu bowed his head. So be it. To Anzu he said, So be it to Anu he said. In the sky chamber, Alalu and Anzu were ushered. With eagles, helmets, and fish suits they were provided. With food and tools they were supplied. From the circling chariot, the sky ship departed. From the chariot, its descent was observed. Then from view it disappeared, and the chariot to Nibiru continued. For 9 shars was Alalu king on Nibiru. For 8 shars, Iridu he commanded. And the 9th shar to die in exile on Lamu was his fate. Okay, we almost done, y'all. And after we done here, we're not going to read my big toe because we so far in time already today. So we're not going to read my big toe. After we're done with this, we're going to be done for the day. Okay. Now this is the account of the return of Anu to Nibiru. And how Alalu on Lamu was buried. How Enlil on earth the landing place built. On Nibiru, there was for Anu a joyous welcome of what had happened to the council and the princes. Anu gave account. Neither pity nor vengeance from them all he sought. To discuss the task ahead, he them all instructed. To the assembled a vision great in scope he outlined. Way stations from Nibiru to earth to establish. All the sun's family in one kingdom to accomplish. The sun, and the sun is S-U-N. All the sun's family in one kingdom to encompass. The first on Lamu to be fashioned. The moon for the plans also to be considered. on the other planets or their circling host stations to set up a chain of constant caravan of chariots to supply and safeguard the gold from earth without interruptions to Nibiru bring, perchance gold elsewhere to also find. The counselors, the princes, the savants, Anu's plans considered, the salvation of Nibiru and the plans they all a promise saw. Savants and commanders, knowledge of the celestial gods perfected, to chariots and sky ships a new kind, rocket ships were added. Heroes for the task were selected. For the task there was much learning. The plans of Enki and Enlil were beamed over. Preparations on earth to hurry, they were told. On earth of what had happened and what to be done is required, there was much discussion. Enki, Algar, to be of Eridu, the overseer appointed, his own steps to the Abzu he directed. Where to obtain gold from earth's bowels, he then determined. What heroes to the task are needed, he calculated. What tools were required, he contemplated. An earth's splitter with cleverness Enki designed on Nibiru, that it be fashioned, he requested. Therewith in the earth to make a gash, its innards reach by way of tunnels. That which crunches and that which crushes, he also designed on Nibiru for the Abzu to be fashioned. Of other matters, Nibiru's savants he to contemplate asked. Of matters of health and well-being of heroes, the needs he listed. To the heroes, Earth's quick circuits were upsetting. Earth's quick day and night cycles, dizziness were causing. The atmosphere, though good, was in some things lacking, in others too abundant. Of the sameness of the food, the heroes were complaining. Enlil, the commander, by the heat of the sun on earth, was afflicted. For coolness and shade he was longing. While in the Abzu, Enki preparations was making. Enlil, in his sky ship, the extent of Eden was surveying. Of mountains and rivers he took account. Of valleys and plains he measures took. Where a landing place to establish a place for the rocket ships he was seeking. Enlil, by the heat of the sun afflicted, for a place of coolness and shade was searching. To snow-covered mountains on Eden's north side he took a liking. The tallest trees he ever saw grew there in a cedar forest. There above a mountain valley with power beams the surface he flattened. Great stones from the hillside the heroes quarried and to size cut. To uphold the platform with sky ships they carried and emplaced them. With satisfaction did Enlil the handiwork consider. A work beyond belief indeed it was, a structure of everlasting. An abode for himself on the crest of the mountain was his desire. Of the tall trees in the cedar forest, long beams were prepared. Of them the construction of an abode for himself he decreed. The abode of the north crest he named it. On Nibiru, the new celestial chariot for soaring off was prepared. New kinds of rocket ships, sky ships, and that which Enki had designed it was transporting. A fresh group of 50 from Nibiru it was taking. Chosen females among them were. By Ninmah, exalted lady, were they commanded. In succor and healing they were trained. Ninmah, exalted lady, a daughter of Anu she was, a half-sister, not a full sister, of Enki and Enlil she was. In succor and healing she was greatly learned. In the treating of ailments she excelled. To the complaints from earth she gave much attention. A healing was she preparing. The course of prior chariots on tablets of destinies recorded. Nungal its pilots did follow. Unharmed it reached the celestial god Lamu. It circled the planet. Slowly to its surface it descended. A faint beaming, a group of heroes followed. Ninmah was going with them. Beside a lake shore, Anzu they found. From his helmet the signals were beaming. Anzu himself was without motion, prostrate, he lay dead. Ninmah touched his face. To his heart she gave attention. From her pouch she took out the pulsar. Upon Anzu's heart pulsing she directed. From her pouch she took out the emitter. Its crystals, life-giving emissions on his body she directed. 60 times did Ninmah direct the pulsar. 60 times the emitter she directed. On the 60th time, Anzu, his eyes open, with his lips he motioned. Gently upon the face, Ninmah, water of life poured, his lips with it wetting. Gently into his mouth, the food of life she placed. Then the miracle did happen. Anzu from the dead arose. About Alalu, they him then inquired of Alalu's death. Anzu them told. He led them to a great rock from the plain heavenward protruding. There to them what happened he was telling. Alalu, soon after the landing, from the unremitting pain to scream began. From his mouth, his innards, he was spitting. In agony he peered over the wall. Thus was Anzu to them, saying, he led them to a great rock, like a mountain from the plain heavenward rising. And the great rock, a cave I found, Alalu's corpse therein I hid. Its entrance with stones I covered. So was Anzu to them, saying, they followed him to the rock, the stones they removed, the cave they entered. Inside what of Alalu remained they found. He who once on Nibiru, a king, was a pile of bones in a cave now laying. For the first time in our annals, a king not on Nibiru has died. Not on Nibiru was he buried. So did Ninmah say, let him in peace for eternity rest, she was saying. They, the cave's entrance, again with stones covered. This is the last page, y'all. It's a half a page. The image of Alalu upon the great rock mountain with beams they carved. They showed him wearing an eagle's helmet. His face they made uncovered. Let the image of Alalu forever gaze toward Nibiru that he ruled, toward the earth whose gold he discovered. So Ninmah, exalted lady, in the name of her father Anu, did declare, as for you, Anzu, to you, Anu, the king, his promise shall be keeping. 20 heroes with you here shall remain, the way stations building to begin. Rocket ships from earth, the golden ores shall here deliver. Celestial chariots from here, the gold to Nibiru shall then transport. Hundreds of heroes their abode on Lamu shall make. You, Anzu, shall be their commander. Thus did the great lady, in the name of her father Anu, to Anzu say, my life I owe to you, great lady. So was Anzu saying, my gratitude to Anu shall limits not have. From the planet Lamu, the chariot departed. Toward earth, the journey it continued. And that, my beautiful people, is the end of tablet 4. Tablet 5, it gets better. It starts talking about the women that arrived, right? So now you add the women in here. I'm like, oh, well, now that makes sense. Okay, so in what they've done with scripture, they've, as much as they could, they removed the female portion, right? And what they were doing, and so it makes it seem like it's this patriarchy, where the men are just always everything, which is a complete imbalance. And we can see that even by trying to follow some of this stuff, there's still an imbalance. The women are still being not everywhere, but mostly still everywhere. The female, or the female energy of the females are being, what's the word? Oppressed, right? There's a certain oppression that's going on. And that's something I noticed even in the church as well. Although I would say the church is a little more lenient than what some other religions follow, but it's that same male dominance rule. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a woman, right? Some people think I'm taking sides. No, right? I'm not. But I noticed that, and I had questions about it even while I was still in church. Were women just made just the bedroom and the kitchen? Just the bedroom and the kitchen, that's all? And I used to wonder about that, right? Made subordinate to the men. That's what is taught, obedient to Yah. It's taught that they are made subordinate to the men. I ain't gonna argue with people. We're just gonna read and we're gonna bring out some facts here, right? And even some kind of science. I wouldn't say they're subordinate to men. I would say now, as my big toe has grown, or my big theory of everything has grown, and I have more information, and I've actually went into different cultures, not just reading, but I've actually traveled the world while in the military, and actually, when we go into different places, actually go out and mingle with the locals, go to their temples and their churches. I've personally done it, not just read about it, right? So now I'm considering all the information with even some of the books and stuff that I'm coming into. I'm like, you know what? There's definitely an imbalance, right? Because even think about it in the church, those who have been in the church, right? And from church, right? From church, the Holy Spirit would be likened as like, okay, so you say you got the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, right? So you had a Father, you had a Son. So Holy Ghost, I'm not going to say it's a wife, but it's like that feminine aspect. Stay with me. Don't try and kill me over words, but it's more like the feminine aspect, right? And so it's like a father would be, or a husband would be towards his wife. You can say anything to me, but if you say something to my wife, I'm coming for your head, right? So it's like that as well. And so even in a Christian church, it's like you can they say you can blaspheme the Father, you can blaspheme the Son, but if there is blaspheming against the Holy Ghost, there is no repentance for you. Like, you can't blaspheme the Holy Ghost and live forever. Like, even eternal life is taken away from you, right? Okay, so think about that. But also think about churches. Use some of your church experience. Think about churches that you go to where they don't believe in like gifts of the Spirit, which come from where? From, they say the gifts come from the endowing or the filling of the Holy Spirit or the Holy Ghost. But if you reject the Holy Ghost, you can't see the gifts present and the church is dead, which from experience, I have seen that to be true, that aspect to be true in places where they don't believe in gifts of the Spirit, and the teaching is off. You will see that it's dead. It's dead. Like, there is like, why are y'all even here? We should be coming in here with caskets to bury everybody, right? And you can see that when the feminine aspect is cut off from spirituality, there is deadness. Like, there is no creativity that's happening, because it's that portion or that. And if you come outside the church, they say it's the feminine energy. It's the feminine energy that brings the creativity, that causes the life to bloom. It's like the male energy. They carry the seed, right? The female energy is not subordinate. Isaiah, stop. The female energy is not subordinate to the male energy. And I ain't gonna say they're one and the same, but they perfectly complement one another. You have something that's powerful, but life doesn't come to it until you have the missing piece. You have something that's powerful, but nothing comes to that until you have the missing piece, right? There's a piece in the male energy, there's a piece in the female energy, but you don't get power to the house until they come together. It's the equal energy being exchanged through the male and the female. You got some of the cake's ingredients, and I got some of the cake's ingredients. We're gonna sit here and fight about who has the better ingredients. Both of our ingredients is good, and they stand good on their own, but they become better when you mingle them together, right? Think about it. I see it in the business realm. I see it in the business world. There are companies that are being ran by men, but if you go behind the scenes, right, you got those companies that are booming. But if you go behind the scenes and look at some of those hidden figures, most of those hidden figures that keep that company running and keep it flowing like it should, especially if they're successful, it's the female energy. Not saying that men can't do it, because they can only do it up to a certain point, because there are certain things that they have and there are certain things that women have. Not that they can't, like one can do the other job. We ain't even getting there, because clearly you can, but the efficiency and the power that comes out of it, you can clearly tell who was designed to do what, right? It goes further if you have every piece in its proper place, right? So that's what I began to understand. So I kind of stepped back from them arguments, well, the man is in charge and this and this and that. Because even in our personal life, me and my husband, in our personal life and the industry we're in, we look at the different businesses over the last, how long? We've been in business since 2008. Me and my husband. Since 2008, we're now in 2022. Over the years, the different companies that we interact with, the ones that start up or that branch off from the bigger companies, well, we can do this. We can start our own. But if they don't have, and it doesn't necessarily have to be their wife, but if they don't have, I've noticed it from what I've personally seen, if it's not a female somewhere behind the scenes helping, they die. The company dies. Like they're struggling. And I was like, hey, look at this, babe. Like, look at this. Like we begin to really sit and notice it. From the time we've been going, there's only one. Wait, hold on. Because that's him and his two. There's two companies, and they just happen to be husband and wife duos that are running the company. And a lot of times it's the wife holding up the administrative side, the ins and outs, while the man, he's actually out there in the field. There are times when the wives go out into the field for what have you, like I do. But a lot of times the wives are behind the scene, right? Because the structure, the inward parts that need to happen, normally it's the wife back there handling that administrative portion, making sure payroll, we got the payroll set up, we got the taxes, all this stuff, the contracts, all that stuff. Normally, if she's not doing it all herself, they're using she's making sure it's being delegated to the right companies that specialize in this particular thing. Like when we first started, it was just me and my husband. It was like a one-man show, a husband and wife show. We was doing everything until we started growing and we realized we needed help. So a lot of things that people think, well, how do you do all this? Well, I done got smart. After the IRS started showing up at our door a couple times, right? Pam, you cannot be a one-woman show. I'm like, babe, we got to outsource some of this. Let's give it to the professionals. Like we stopped doing our own taxes. Even though I'm trained, I can do taxes and I had my own tax company, it's a conflict of interest because it looks like I could possibly cook our books and I don't ever want to be known for that. So from that first time when the IRS showed up at our door, I'm like, I'm so glad I listened to the voice of Yah. I said, I promise you, we have a CPA. I literally hired a CPA the day before. We went to their office and we talked to them about everything that was happening, not knowing that the IRS agents were coming to our house the next day. They thought we were lying because where we were staying at the time, we were staying like in like you could call it the ghetto, across from trailer parks, right? Across from a trailer park. And that like, yeah, y'all lying, right? And I was like, I kid you not. I gave them the card. I said, you can call and verify. And I said, we do have the money in the bank. We haven't spent it, right? They was looking at us like we was drug dealers and stuff. And I'm like, I promise you. I said, go check it. I said, if you want me to, I will open up our bank account right now. I will go online and you can verify these funds that we have not spent it, right? And of course, they didn't believe us. So yeah, go ahead. Let us see. And once they saw and they realized that we weren't lying, then they began to address us like, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Murphy, you know. So I'm like, whoo, boy, I tell you. But I said all of that to say, I noticed that a lot of companies, they jump out the guys, the guys, I know how to do this. And they're talented in what they do. And they can get these projects and they can put them together. But what happens is, as they begin to build their business and they get extra help and employees, they're still trying to do the payroll and all this. So I got this, I'm going to save some money. I'm like, yeah, listen, anybody come ask, I'm telling you right from the beginning, you can't afford not to outsource that. If you don't have somebody on staff, on payroll right now to handle that for you, you cannot afford to not hire them, right? You can come out a lot cheaper because if you out there running the jobs and you still got to come home, do the payroll and paperwork and all this stuff, and you got to make sure your calculations is right, you're going to get tired. You're going to be able to do it right up front, but it's going to start getting tiring. And what about the projects that last for weeks, right? And some of them, they come to us for wisdom. It's like, how have y'all lasted so long, right? Some of them start and then their business crash and they go back and work for somebody. Some of them even come and been employees and work for us. Well, how are y'all doing this? Well, we just kind of work together. We get smart. If you're going to do it, you need to outsource this. Don't try and do everything. Stick with what you know to do and be the best at what you do. Focus on your strengths. Outsource your weaknesses. That's what we learned real early, right? Instead of fighting over, well, I got this, I'm in charge, and this ain't nobody come. Yep, that's going to kill your business before you get off the ground good. Some of them didn't listen. Then they come back, and James like, I ain't talking to these regents, but he didn't say regents. He did it the proper way. They don't listen anyway. He said, why am I wasting my breath trying to help them out? And they ain't even listen. They just want to come in here, sitting here and talk to me all day long, taking up time. I could be back at home with you. And they just want to talk about a bunch of nothing. He said, and I give them good information, what to do, but they don't listen. He said, but then he said, they also want to come to you. And he said, no, you can't use my wife. You cannot hire my wife. Like, because all of them, they'll say, well, y'all's is going good. Why don't we just ask Pam? He said, he kind of cussed at him. H&R. You go find go find you a woman, a wife, or a company to handle this for you. He said, but you better not dare try and reach out to my wife. He said, she belongs to me. So, but I said all that to say, when the female energy is lacking, it doesn't matter whether it's in a church, in a business, in a home, things are just off. Right. And we know males have egos, women have egos too. But when you are unbalanced there are other things that go unbalanced and other things that go lack. And there's just things we just sit. I'm shortly, son. You still can't get on when I'm done because I got some work I need to do. I got some paperwork I need to submit. So you still gonna have to wait a few minutes. I'm gonna let you get on, chill out. So even when you go back in like the more ancient ones, you will see how the Bible has really scrubbed away the woman, the female energy, right? And that's not right, because it leaves a whole the church look at the woman as the helpmeet in the wrong fashion. Like, I'm just here to help you be a better man and cook for you and help you release the aching going on between your legs. That's not what we were created for, right? I mean, it'll help you just like you can help us, but that's not our sole purpose for being created, right? The energy we wield and the power we wield is just as powerful as what the men carry, and people need to understand. They need to know that. But if you're under wrong teachers, especially men who lord over their wives, that same type of attitude is going to flow out through your congregation, your camp, whatever. And it's a friggin' freak show. Like one of my previous pastors said, he said it's a freak show. And it really is. If you sit back, y'all don't have to believe what I say. I want y'all to actually go do a little bit of research. Go looking for ministries. Look at some of their stuff online. Pay attention to what's going on. See who's leading. If you never see, and not that you have to see women out in front, but you can tell that even if you never see women out front, if there's a balance in a man, especially in how he talks and how he relates to women, if there's any kind of disrespect ever coming out of his mouth towards women or the opposite sex, there's an imbalance. And if you can see it in him, if you dig a little deeper, you'll be able to see it in his life. If he's the ruler over a church or a business, you can see it there because it flows out into everywhere. If women are oppressed, we will be able to see it through the leadership. I'm telling you. That's something y'all should really pay attention to, especially my Hebrew brethren, right? I love y'all. But we got some people who are teaching that really should not be teaching our brothers, right? Because they're leading them in a way that's constantly trying to make women subordinate to them in the wrong way. Not saying that there's not like a give and take between one another, because there's something me and my husband wrestled with, but my husband has never been like, because of where he come from. His dad doesn't do that to his mom, right? And I thank y'all for that, because not everybody can grow up with both parents and have that type of balance. He may not be perfect, but that thing I've never had to worry about with my husband or lording over me or just different things. Like, we had our issues, but there's a give and take. Like, it's not always what I say goes. It may be like that at first. Okay, well, babe, I thought about what you said and you're right. I'm sorry, So, but you can see that. You can really see that. So if you're still sitting under somebody, I ain't telling you to leave your church or wherever, but that's something you should be paying attention to, because if you're sitting under that type of teaching and that learning, it's eventually going to make its way in your house, and you'll be going to begin to see that same type of thing being perpetrated throughout your own life. And you may not be able, especially if you just locked on everything that's coming out of this man's mouth, and vice versa with the women too. If there's an imbalance with women, you will see some women pastors and preachers and teachers and stuff. If there's an imbalance there, where it's this type of attitude, like, this nigga, you know how we can be sometimes. If there's an imbalance there with the woman, you're going to see it. And it's just as disgusting as what you see with the men. The imbalance, it has to be corrected. It has to be called out. Somebody. I ain't saying you ain't got to be judge and jury for everybody. But I'm just saying, at least to keep yourself protected and your family in balance, you should keep your eyes open and pay attention to what's really going on, right? So that's all I'm saying. So with the businesses, we noticed that the businesses that didn't last in the industry where we're at is because either the husbands, now I'll be asking questions. I'm like, babe, well, what is his wife doing? Okay, she working a job. Okay, I get that. But is there like no outsourcing? He's trying to handle all of that himself. Well, okay, some of them we would talk to him, we would hang out with, but it's like, oh, my wife don't care, this and this. And I'm like, well, maybe you shouldn't have your own. I didn't say it. I just kind of kept my comments to myself, and I just kind of let my husband talk and the guys talking or whatever. I would talk when they asked me a question. I wouldn't just butt in, just showing them respect. The guys, I let them do what they do, So, but if they ask me, I look at my husband. Go ahead, baby. Tell him. You don't hold nothing back. I was like, okay. And so I'm like, well, maybe you should consider this, or maybe you should consider this. And I only say that because, well, let me share with you what happened between me and my husband, right? And we'll share different things that we went through. So, but if there's not a balance there, even if they don't have wives, if they don't have somebody, it doesn't necessarily even have to be a woman. It could just be outsourcing to another company that has this particular skill down that can help you build your empire, your business, or whatever. If you don't even just leave that door open for that feminine energy to come in and merge with the male energy for whatever you're doing, you're almost like doomed to fail. That's it. You're going to go down. You have to figure out a way to get that female energy, right? And it could be a company that's run by a female, will have males in place and female, whatever. But y'all get what I'm saying, right? There has this part over here. Somebody has to do this part that you weren't designed to do, right? And so, but we saw that the ones that didn't include their wives or didn't outsource, they just failed. And some of them jumped out there multiple times over the time we've been in business solidly since 2008 all the way up to 2022. There are at least two of them that we know. They jumped out there and started their businesses at least twice, had employees and everything, failed every single time. Like James, like, man, what I tell you to do the first time? You're not listening. Well, I can't afford it. He said, you can't afford not to. He said, you need to get your priorities straight. If you're going to run a business, you need to think about this. You need that part fulfilled. Well, and no, you can't ask my wife. Every time. It was like, well, y'all seem to got to figure out. No, we're telling you what we learned and we outsource. Although you don't see it or we use this. No, you only see us all the time. But I guarantee you, if you come and talk to us, we're going to tell you, well, we use this company for this. We use this company for payroll. We use this company for this. We use this company for this. It looks like it's just us, but behind the scenes, we got this thing working like a well-oiled machine. It's not, you just see us, but we got people behind us that we work with to help us, so, but a lot of times if that female energy is cut off, everything is goes out of whack. And a lot of that we can see in the Hebrew camps, right? And yeah, you may worship Yah, you ain't calling him Jesus now, but there's still a major imbalance with our brethren and our sister, and we need to get it together. So that's one of the things that I found out about the scriptures. They scrub the females away. And the females that you do see is just like, Father, help me, please. And, they just let anything happen to the women. You could take my virgin daughters. Like, y'all put the worst part in there about the women and don't give the women anything to look up and hope for until they break out of them. Like, listen, what is going on? Why did you even create it? Is that why we were created? Like, until you break out of that and like really ask questions, then it's like you just kind of go on in this robotic state doing what they tell you to do. They telling you wrong stuff. And a lot of them don't even know that they're telling you wrong stuff. They think it's right because this is what their male teachers have taught them. And no slight, I ain't trying to take shots at the brothers, right? Because if that's what you're taught, then that's what you're taught. But once you know better, you got to do better, people, right? So that's it for today. So I'm just saying, The Bible has definitely been tampered with, or what they've pulled from the older manuscripts. They cherry picked what they wanted to put there and present to the masses for their overall agenda, right? Because if you add in the female energy, the female portion, it's going to cut out a lot of this foolishness that some of the men get away with, and vice versa. But a lot of time when you see the female, hold on, wait a minute, what? You didn't even ask this question? You ain't got to do it all nasty, but y'all get what I'm saying. When you bring in that female energy, it's gonna snip some things right at the bud. It really is. Even in the Catholic Church, y'all, some of the shenanigans, the sexual indiscretions, if the women hadn't been scrubbed away, they wouldn't have, a lot of the men would not have gotten as far with some of the indiscretions, even against other men and boys for so long. That would not have happened, right? It would not have happened. So I'm just saying, we need to adjust what we are learning is wrong. Adjust it to truth and begin to operate in it. So with that being said, beautiful people, that's it for today. We got to get out of here. We are literally at the 2-hour mark in 8, 7, 6, 5. Y'all get it. Okay, so we're at 2 hours. Today, y'all, it is Thursday, February the 3rd, 2022, day 21 of year 4, reading through the books of the Law and Prophets. Another 4-year consecutive day count, day 1039. We read tablet 4, and that's it. We didn't even get to my big toe. We'll get back to it tomorrow. And hopefully we can finish reading the rest of chapter 19, if not the rest of the chapter. It's like 4 pages left. We'll at least get through half of it, right? But it seems to line up with whatever we're doing for that day anyway when we do read it. So, everything works itself out, right? All right, so with that being said, Bella's upstairs, and she already in a little bit of a mood because her brothers done ticked her off just a bit. So I ain't going to call her. We're just going to go ahead and do this blessing and get out of here. The blessing is found in Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 through 27. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his son, saying on this wise, Ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, Yahuwah will kneel before us, presenting gifts, and will guard us with a hedge of protection. Yahuwah will illuminate the wholeness of his being towards us, bringing order, and he will provide us with love, sustenance, and friendship. Yahuwah will lift up his wholeness of being and look upon us, and he will set in place all we need to be whole and complete. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. All right, beautiful people, I love y'all. I will see y'all back here tomorrow morning, bright and early, 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace.